Hello, Stitchers. Welcome to Stitch Please, official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. I'm your host, Lisa Woolfork. I'm a fourth-generation sewing enthusiast with more than 20 years of sewing experience. I am looking forward to today's conversation, so sit back, relax, and get ready to get your stitch together.
We got a countdown. Here we go. Very fancy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Please podcast. I am your host, Lisa Woolfork, and I am, once again, as I always say, honored and delighted and so excited to bring up our guest for today, who I am going to welcome with Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I am here with So Modest Studios, creative director, owner, producer, manager, head designer,
teacher.
LaTerry. Wait, what'd you say?
The teacher.
Teacher, professor, designer. I'm sure she also sweeps up at night. She does it all. Welcome, LaTerry. Thank you so much for being here. And So Modest is an amazing brand of stylish, beautiful, modest clothing that is really inventive and engaging. If you look at the pieces, they are so elegant, deliberate, well structured. They're just amazing. It is exactly what one would imagine from a fashion designer, right? A fashion designer who's not just trying to reinvent the wheel or put a stamp on something that's already existed. She is actually designing. And I'm also so excited to have LaTerry here because, like my work with Black Women Stitch, her work with So Modest Studios is also a values-led project. Black Women Stitch centers Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing. And LaTerry Mohsin, her work is values aligned as well. And so she is able to move through the world and also help her community move through the world in ways that are deliberate and beautiful and powerful and aligned with their values. So thank you so much. Welcome.
Really wonderful introduction.
I'm like, I got a Black Muslim.
Here you in my pocket and you just
Just like it's all perfect. So welcome so much, LaTerry. Can you give us some idea about how you got started? What's your sewing story?
So I've been sewing ever since I could crawl. Honestly, I started hand sewing when I was about 5 years old. I was that person that anything you gave me, I was stripping it naked and making something else out of bed sheets, socks, jeans. All of my younger cousins have participated in some form of a home fashion show where I tied bed sheets and anything that they would let me cut and twist and tie and design them a dress. We would do makeup, hair, gather everyone, it's time for the runway show. So I feel like it's definitely something that's just been in me forever. I've always known that I've wanted to pursue a career in fashion design. I think, so if you know a little bit about my background, I spent about 13 years working in HR and HR technology and from talent management to talent acquisition. And, realistically, I knew what my dream was, but I wasn't in a position to go to art school, right? So I couldn't risk spending my scholarship opportunity, my chance to get out of the hood and then end up with an arts degree that nobody really took seriously. So my undergraduate, I had a triple major. I studied business management, fashion merchandising, and marketing with the minor in communications.
Sounds like four majors, but okay. Just a quick, that sounds like four majors. That with the minor in communication, that's a lot. Even as a minor in communications, because I majored in communication, so even to minor in communications is a big deal. So you have four majors. Continue.
Thank you. So I think that there was one part of that dream where it was like this might end up being a hobby and you need to have like a real career plan, real career opportunities. After so many years of working in corporate and we can get into the tea, but a very, let's say, sexist and borderline racist, borderline Islamophobic boss.
Oh,
I always tell the story as like, if you watch what was that show? Everybody Hates Chris. My man has two jobs, kind of moment. Like I
oh
don't need
my
this.
gosh. Yes, tell. I do not. I don't need this. I don't need
I
this.
don't need this. I don't need this. Like we have always lived very much under our means, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
yes, I was working at a high paying corporate job, but we bought a small house without a mortgage. I have a little
Yes.
hoopty car that it runs and
It
I
gets you
don't
place to
have a
place.
car note. So it was like
That's right.
all of these things that force you to stay into a position that you hate. We
Mm.
really was, and my husband was so supportive about that too. It's like being able to say, it's time to pursue something else. Um,
Yes.
and I am very big on like words. So there, above my bed and at home, I wrote, "If I can't follow my dreams, I don't know what to do." And I wrote that,
Mm.
and it just sat there for like maybe 5 months. Um, And one day I decided like I'm going to open a studio. Like I'm not going to go back to corporate. I'm not going to go back to corporate. It's just like I'm not going to do this. Like just having that to tell myself that, convince myself like it's okay to follow your dream. It's okay um sometimes you grow up in environments where you feel like you have to constantly remember survival. So it's like you're in a place where you can risk the study paycheck 9 to 5 and really pursue that. You're not in a survival mode anymore. So really having those conversations with myself out loud, like gearing myself up to follow this thing, to open the studio, to invest my savings, to buy all this machinery and equipment and mannequins and all this stuff. And then 3 months after we opened, we were shut down for COVID. So, needless to say, there was lots of tears and lots of moments where I was just like, I don't know if we're going to reopen. I don't know what that means for anything, for this investment. But
Yeah.
alhamdulillah,
Yes.
thanks be to
Yes.
God. That's what that means.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Yes. Yes.
We had just such an outpour of people in the community that were reaching out to me, even when we were in shutdown and we weren't allowed to be open. They're like, well, as soon as y'all open, let me know because I'll be there with a mask on. I'll wear a whatever I got to do. Like I want to
Exactly.
be there. And
Exactly.
it was just overwhelming. Like I would sometimes just cry at night because people were signing up for another class and returning students, and I'm just like, I can't believe that you want to be here. It's just like you want to be here. Like this is
Your
crazy.
story and what I think LaTerry, what your story is showing me is that you have what you're sharing is what it means to step out on faith and what it means to also to remind yourself that what you want for your life is important.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that sometimes coming from a background of financial marginalization or where you're used to struggle or used to like, oh no, I can't let go of this because then I won't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think that's such a dangerous idea because it kind of says, well, only people who are rich can afford to dream.
Right. Right.
Only people who are rich can afford to take
Mm-hmm.
chances. Only people who are rich can do blank. But if you are a working person and you are working for a living, all you can do for the rest of your life is plan to work. And your dreams, your
Paycheck to
pleasure, your
paycheck to
joy,
paycheck.
none of these things are important because you are just meant
Mhm.
to survive and that's it. And
Right.
that is not who we are. That
Right.
is not who
Right.
we are. We are not people who are just meant to survive. There is far more to us. And I've been thinking so much about pleasure and joy and basically how we practice freedom.
Right.
And I've been going with Alexis Pauline Gumbs. She has this idea that says freedom isn't a secret. It is a practice.
Mm.
Freedom isn't a secret, it is a practice.
It is a
And
practice.
when I heard you saying, I grew up when I went to college, I had to get a job that would pay. I had to get a job that would guarantee a source of steady income. And whether I was happy or not was secondary.
Right.
You know, you paused and you said, I don't know if that's true for me, because what you said is, if I can't follow my dream, I don't know what to do. That your dream was so central to the life you wanted to have for yourself. And thanks to your family and your husband and your community, people came together in response to what you wanted, right? To help support
Absolutely.
your vision. And that's the thing I'm so excited about. I just saw this
It
today. This woman I really love, her name's Octavia Rahim, and she
is.
says the things that, some people are afraid to speak out loud what they want because
Mm.
they're afraid it won't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she said the thing that you want also wants you, and that you're kind of just
That's
like the universe is conspiring, and what you're telling us right now is proof of that, right? You wanted to have the studio. COVID said,
right.
hell no, you can't have no studio because everybody's staying home forever. But you had people contacting you even when the studio was closed, saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, can I give you some money now to buy some classes ahead of time? What can I do to help you get going? I want to be there. And it really is a great example, I thought, of these two,
Right.
what you want and what the community also needed came together.
What's also really beautiful, Lisa, is like I feel like there's even another level to that, right? Because I have been a practicing Muslim only for 7 years, right? So I was studying fashion and like went to London and did all these things before becoming a Muslim. And then after I did my Shahada, which is like, the statement of faith, there was this sort of rift of like, well, you can't be a fashion designer and be a modest woman. You can't, be bold with beautiful colors and, still hold on to these conservative values. And so that was another level that I felt pushed me away from the dream, away from really pursuing that, and made like corporate make sense. Like it's easier to exist in this corporate space and not really, take up too much space, not really do the things or wear the things that I want to wear, or express myself in the ways that I want to express myself. And so that's like even another layer to it.
Yeah.
I always say like it's really so many layers to the process. But one thing that you spoke about is like saying things out loud. Like to me,
Mhm.
I am such a huge person on words. Like I just even in my studio I have pictures, but I have like tons of quotes mixed in. If you go in the
Yes.
bathroom, like there's like quotations all over the walls. It's like one of those things where I feel like I need to be reminded to live out loud. I need to be reminded that I have permission. Like I didn't when I became Muslim, one of the big things was like not losing my identity. I'm not an Arabic woman. Even though I'm married to an Arabic man, I am not an Arabic woman. I am a black woman. I am very proud to be a black woman. I am a black American woman, and I dress as a black American woman. And so it's like when you Google modest clothes, what do you find? You find Indian wear, you find Arab wear, you find African, like central to the continent, African wear, but you don't find much that really represents like a black Muslim American, like all of these layers,
Sensibility.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was another element too, another layer that I felt like I had to really push through. And a lot of that was talking to myself out loud, giving myself permission, and just realizing like, okay, there's always going to be somebody who don't like it. There's always there's people who complain like, why do you use this in your show, and it's just like it's my show, so you don't have
Exactly. Yes,
to.
yes. This is why I use it because you already answered your own question. When you said why do you? The answer is in the question because it's mine.
Right.
Yeah. When you do your show, you can do it any way you like and you can believe I will not come over there and ask you why.
Right. I'm going to support or I'm not going to support the end.
Exactly.
Uh,
Let me ask you this. So I hear you saying that what I recognize in your work is that you are making really important interventions in conversations around modesty, fashion, identity, right? And that's something that I really love about the ways that you have mantras and motivations and inspirational quotes written, inscribed in your space to remind you all the time and to remind your clients and students all the time. What are some of the differences in your mind in a Black Muslim American woman's sense of modest fashion versus someone in Dubai or someone in India or someone in other parts of the Arabic diaspora? How do those concepts, how do you make it black?
I think one part of it is color. So I lived in Saudi Arabia for a year, and I swore when I moved back, like I would never wear black again. I was like, this is never happening. And that was one thing that I missed so much. There's so much expression and joy to be had in the color of something. I think for me, I love a little bit extra, and it could be extra anything. Glitter, give me the sparkle, give me the poofy sleeve, give me the chain, like
Give me the drama, the drama. I want the
yes, the
zhuzh. I
ruffles.
want the zhuzh and the drama.
I want all of the femininity, and I want the flirty silhouettes. And to me, it's like, sometimes it's redefining because if you say, oh, it's a sleek, flirty silhouette, it doesn't have to be, a mini skirt. It could
Right.
be layers, it can be volume, it can be ruffles, it can be floaty and feminine,
Yes.
and still very much in line with what I see myself as a full coverage designer.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so I wanted to ask about, I believe you're connected with these two young, other young Muslim women, Ain't Afraid.
Oh,
The
my sisters, I love them.
I love them. I love their music.
They're
I love their energy.
phenomenal. The
So do
talent.
you, So do you know them at all? I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't mean this to.
so
I
we
did not mean this to say all Black Muslim women know each other.
right.
I I saw you. I saw them on your page, and so I think you all had connected because I wrote to them last year saying, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to talk to you on the podcast." They're like, "Oh, it'd be great, but we're so busy, and we got the
Mhm.
album, and we got the this," and I was like, "Okay, later, later." And so when I saw them with you, I was like, "Well, of course they know. Of course they know LaTerry. I mean." Of course they know LaTerry. They are amazing, two amazing women, young women who are sewing and designing and
Oh
recording
my
and making
gosh.
amazing hip hop music, and it's just
Right. Oh my
fantastic.
gosh.
And LaTerry's also thebomb.com and just straight fire. So why would they not know each other? And so I guess I'm asking, the question is, what do you see in terms of your own work and influence on the younger generations of young Black Muslim women? Because I feel like you are imparting something to them about what it means to navigate what many could see as a very secular field, a very,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
style that kind of requires you to, to show skin or to do things that are not in line with your values.
I think that, not to speak particularly about them, but just in a general sense, I do get a lot of like, oh my god, I would have never thought to put that together, or like this is allowed, or comments. Even I have a lot of when I do shows or like campaigns and things, I get a lot of non-Muslim models that are just interested in working with me, and I've had people say like, "Wow, I've never thought I could feel so beautiful without showing anything." And
Mm,
that to me is constantly the message that I want to reiterate. Is like there's an option, and I'm not dissing anybody. Like, if you feel beautiful in your nudity or whatever you decide to wear, I'm not trying to negate that. But I think that there is missing that balancing piece to say that's not the only option. That the only option of female empowerment is not, nudity. It's
That's
like,
right.
I'm also empowered. I'm also strong. I'm also in love with my body, in love with myself. Like, okay, honey.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
Yes, absolutely. I
like,
I
I'm
love
showing
the
you
balance.
here's an
I
act.
I love that about the balance. This is what's exciting to me because there is a way that the predominant conversation about female and for women, I don't like to say female, okay, women's empowerment, girls
Mhm.
empowerment has to do with allowing girls and women to have full control and autonomy over their bodies.
Yeah,
Period. That is what everybody should have, in my opinion. Every girl, every woman should
right.
have that right.
And
And
I,
yet, it seems to me that because of our Islamophobia or racism, that for when we have our Black Muslim sisters who choose to cover, who choose to wear hijabs to school or to work or to whatever, it becomes something that's not allowed because we think that that's not,
mhm.
and it's appalling. And it's really just racism. And it's really just because some people, Islamophobes, feel
Uncomfortable.
anxious when they see a Muslim woman in a hijab, in the same way that some racists feel uncomfortable when they see a Black person walking around alive, minding their own business, you
Just
know,
existing.
just
Just
existing.
existing,
You know,
right.
so
Like, excuse me, I
I love.
exist.
Say that again.
Say, excuse me, I exist. And like, I'm going to continue existing, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Hey, friends, hey. The Stitch Please podcast is about to publish its 100th episode. That's right, 100 episodes. As part of the celebration, we are launching 100 by 100 to help us get 100 more Patreon supporters by the 100th episode publication date on September 15th, 2021. 100 additional Patreon supporters would give us the financial stability we need to hire editorial and production help. You can find the links to our Patreon in the show notes. Thank you so much for considering this, and thank you, current and future Patreon supporters.
That is the absolute answer. That is the absolute answer. And so, for me, when I want to talk to you more about volume. You talked a bit about color and how the importance of color can kind of brighten things up. And one of the contrasts you noticed from Saudi Arabia to now, when you're making your own decisions, not decisions, not that you are making decisions there, but the
Right.
style, the more
Yeah.
predominant style is the full black hijab, the full black outfit. For
Mhm.
you, you're like, okay, that's not. I did that for a year. Now I'm back home, and I'm going to get back to my roots in terms of color and style while maintaining and observing these traditions. What role does volume play? Because I don't think people think enough about the volume. Because I guess when we think about designing a silhouette that's
Mhm.
flirty, for example, the
Mhm.
flirty is going to be either like I have like exposed shoulder or exposed
Mhm.
knee or whatever. And you're saying no, you can still maintain full coverage and still get flirty with ruffles or with can you talk about volume, because that's something that, oh my gosh, that outfit that you had on just the other day, the black one with the cape. I think it had a cape. It looked like it had wings. I don't know what all it had on. It was amazing. So can you talk about volume? Because I don't often think about I don't think about I tend not to think about volume. I just love
Mhm.
that. Can you tell us more?
So yeah, I think like when you look at a lot of the silhouettes that are considered modest, right? Like, you kind of get boxed in, right? Because it's like, well, it needs to be high collar, it needs to be this, it needs to be not too tight. And so for me, it's like, okay, I these are, the restrictions that I accept. Like, I accept that I want it to be a high collar. I accept that I want it to not be super fitting. Okay, now outside of these parameters that I accept, what are the things that I can play with? And it's always texture, it's always color, it's always volume. I am just a sucker for a good sleeve because I'm always going to wear sleeves. You know, like
Yes.
every outfit I have has long sleeves. So give me poofy shoulders, give me ruffles, give me a good modified bishop. Add some extra stuff to it. Like let me move my head. Let's see. You can see that a little bit.
Yes.
Give me some
Yes.
curves in the in the sleeve.
Yes. Yes.
Like even
Yes.
when you see the bottom, like the ruffles
Yes.
and the rosettes, and so for me, I feel like yes, I have my parameters that I work within based on my understanding of my religion, and everything else is just up for expression. So a lot of times I'm just playing with whatever fabrics and materials I have in my studio. I always say I do this for fun, I do this for work, I do this for therapy, I do this like I actually love it. And so I could be draping on my mannequin going, "Ooh, I like the way this sticks up. Now, how can I make it stay?" Like,
It's like
what kind of fabric? How much? I don't know if you saw that like beach shoot that I
yes.
did.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Y'all, I'm gonna put the link to LaTerry's Instagram page in the show notes. Do yourself a favor and follow her and go to her reels. Or I think that I don't know if you saved. I hope you saved it as a highlight because
I need to
whoa.
get my highlights together.
Yeah, she okay, so friends, don't worry, she's gonna work on her highlights,
Right.
and by the time this airs, she will have that video shoot in there, so you can go look at it because you will not want to miss it. So tell us so about the shoot. You were saying that helped. That was like a part of this vision that you were working on.
And that dress, this each sleeve for that dress was like 2.5 yards of fabric
My
by itself.
gosh. Oh
Just
my
because I
gosh.
was like, "Ooh, what if it got bigger?
Got
Like,
bigger.
what if I added more ruffles to this? What if I added more ruching?" And just playing around and experimenting until it got to a point where I was like, "Ooh, I absolutely love this, and this is doing everything I wanted to do." Um, and so for me, a lot of it is I do some sketching. I do enjoy sketching, but a lot of
Mhm.
it is working and making decisions on the fly as I'm working with the fabrics and the materials and looking at how things look together and how like I can drape and manipulate.
And that's one of the things I love about the way you talk about volume because it it's it's such when someone says like modest, um, that does not mean small. It does
Yeah,
not mean to
yeah,
be so modest is not to be so small. It's not to
yeah.
make yourself smaller or to shrink. It's to
Mm,
instead
I love
like
that.
you, and that's what volume to me says. Look, I am here. I am really here. And my dress is so fabulous that I'm going to zhuzh into the room and you will see like the train of my outfit. And as I'm walking, the train is dragging. And then when I turn around, the train is still dragging and I'm still back. It's like it's not a dress, sis. It's an event. I mean, honestly, it's an event. The whole thing. It was just. It's just gorgeous. So I appreciate that, and at the same time that you're doing these very I consider very radical moves. I think to draw attention rather than like I don't know. I just find them very attractive and attractive in the sense of being very beautiful and very pretty. But also, I tend to when I see some of your pieces, I instantly lean in because I want to see the rest of the details
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm gonna see a really experimental sleeve cap, and I'm gonna be like, how did she get that to stay up there? Or the way that you use ruching and the pleating techniques. Like all of these are like fundamental sewing basics that, when manipulated, can create something
Mhm.
fantastic, which is what you've shown us to do as well. Do you think there's a message there for sewists in general around how learning some of the fundamentals can be really helpful to creating something spectacular? Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that? What do you think?
Absolutely. So, like the way that my classes are structured is I'm teaching my students how to think about sewing, how to think about design. Very rarely do I actually say, here's the project, and guess what? All of us are going to make this exact project, and here's step by step by step by step. Now, oh, you executed it, go away. Like,
Get out and tag me in your picture.
my goal is always to teach people how to make decisions, like what is going to happen if I make this design using a chiffon versus a velvet? What is going to be different in the way that it looks, in the way that it flows, in the way that it drapes? Thinking about how to make decisions while also gaining those key skills. Here's how you do the action. Now try it on this fabric, try it on this fabric, try it on this design, and look at and think about, like in my intermediate class, we go through a pretty in-depth like list of fabric swatches, and I'm having them go through and we're looking at, here's a sketch of a design. Now, if you use this fabric, how would this ruffle look? How would it lay? How would it hang? Is it going to be more volume? Is it going to be more, like, so thinking
Right.
about how to make decisions, how these skills, like you're going to learn the core fundamental skills of sewing, how these skills translate into other things, and how you can take that and manipulate patterns and manipulate, the store-bought things to really create something that is your own, and to really understand like what might happen.
Yes, what might happen. And that's, again, it goes back to the way that your work empowers people to do that which seems best and right for them.
Right.
And I think I really appreciate your teaching style, because I learned in the way that you don't teach. I learned from, okay, everybody, we're making a tote bag.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody, now we're making a table runner that looks a lot like a tote bag, but without the without the straps. And now we're gonna move up to the placemat, which again looks like a tote bag and
Right.
a table. But like you are saying, you are giving people the skills. And once they perfect the skills and understand the skills, which is a form of deep knowledge and deep
Right.
learning. Like, it's one thing to draw something and to sketch something. It's another thing to turn that vision into a reality. And not only are you doing that with your work, you are teaching other people how to do that. And that is an amazing and precious gift that you have and that you are extending. And I just want to thank you for that. I find it just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So tell us, LaTerry, what is next for you? What is coming up next? What is around the corner and down the street for you?
So I can't not talk about my summer camp girls. I need to mention them because I
Please
am
do
like
tell us.
proud mama. Like oh my God. Just watching them progress. So, okay, let me back up a little bit. So the summer camp, we are in our 4th week now. And so what we do every day, our sort of motto is we're journaling, we're talking about some mental health related topics. So we've talked about like managing anxiety. And these topics are also laid out when they would be the most needed. Like I noticed that my students get super anxious on fabric cutting day because they're like, I don't want to make a mistake. So
Yes.
on fabric cutting day, before we start cutting the fabric, we're talking about anxiety, and we're talking about ways to manage our anxiety, and we're talking about coping mechanisms and how to
So
recognize
good.
in ourselves, like some people, even how to recognize that we're feel our mood is shifting, our anxiety is rising. Like, are you having trouble breathing, or do you feel your physical temperature in your body changing?
Oh my goodness.
And so I'm having these conversations with literal 5 and 6 year olds. So there's
It's
two.
I I wish that someone would have given me the vocabulary for these kind of conversations when I was a 6-year-old. You
Mhm.
know, because strong girls become strong women, and not strong in the sense of strong black woman, like not like that, the way that they're always basically blaming us for surviving, right? This whole strong black woman thing and how we get
You gonna
penalized.
start a whole conversation.
We get penalized for fucking living. Like, look at these strong black women over there being so strong and stuff. And I'm like,
Did
nobody.
you expect me to crawl in a ball and die? Like, is that what you expected? Because that's not what was going to happen. Like,
Yeah. How about instead of like praising us for, or calling us strong black women as a backhanded compliment, if that, think about the conditions that we have thrived in. And the conditions in a country that was not built for us, built by us, but not for us, in all these systems and institutions that we help to support, but gain no or very little recognition, and even less money and intergenerational wealth from, we survive, and then they still mad. You know what? Stay mad.
stay mad.
But what you are doing is telling these girls that, of course, you have these feelings. This is totally normal, right? But this is not the whole story. That anxiety is a part of life, and it's giving you information, right? But it's not a prediction of a true and real outcome. So, hey, y'all, girls, cut the fabric.
Right.
You
And
cut the
there's no
fabric.
mistake that we can't fix. Like,
What's that? What'd you say?
there's no mistake we can't fix. That's why we're
Exactly.
here. You're not alone in this process. We are doing it
Exactly.
together, and there's no mistake that we can't fix.
Exactly. And there's no mistake, because what you're doing is in this active process of constantly learning and growing. So sometimes it's like, thank you for making that mistake. Thank you for asking that question, because now I have the opportunity to show you.
Yep. That's what we call them in class. Like, oh, that's a happy accident because that looks cuter than what you was planning to do when you first started.
I love that so much. And also thinking about, at least something that I often think about, is the notions of creative liberation. And that for so many black women, we have had to build the things that we need. We have had to build the things that we need.
I'm gonna grab my computer.
Oh yes, okay. So what we're talking about is, in what ways do black women, and look, I got to see your whole outfit. Thank you for doing that. Y'all, you're gonna wish you had a Patreon subscription. And honestly, if you don't have one, why not? It's like $2 a month, and everybody knows I'm worth way more than $2 a month. But you got to see this amazing outfit with this mid sleeve, right? It's like a mid sleeve. And that's it has pockets.
I know, right?
It's in my favorite color. It has pockets. The sleeves have drama. What I love about your sleeves is that they have drama, and they're short sleeves, because I love a drama sleeve, but I also will get my sleeve in my food anytime I eat. But so I'll have to have the shorts. That mid sleeve is perfect for me. Perfect. I can handle it. Oh my gosh. So the summer camp girls are just setting it on fire. They're doing great things. They're making new things. And then I see you work with adult clients as well, or adult students who also come in and learn basically about, the draping and sewing techniques and skills. And do you all do a show at the end of the year? Are you working on a show right now? Or
I'm working on a show. So the end of August, we're gonna have a show, and we'll have a showcase with all of the summer camp girls in their gowns, because we're doing formal wear. And oh my God, like, I have some pictures I need to post. Like, they really did not hold back. I laugh with my adult students, right? Because I told my kids they never sold anything before. I was like, we're making gowns, and they were like, hell yeah, okay, let's do it. I tell my adult students we're making gowns. They're like, I never worked with that material before. I don't.
You tell me, am I involved in this, or is this really you doing it and I get to watch?
So, the summer camp girls, they have their own segment in the show, and they're gonna model their gowns. And then the show is also going to be featuring 2 up and coming designers. Both were my students. So they're doing full collections, and then I'll be also presenting a collection. a new collection of pieces.
And so when is the big day? So that what is there any way that we can see this, or can we? Are you going to have live features, or is there any way that someone from the general public who's not in your area can enjoy the show, or participate, or support?
So I'm working on photographers, and seeing like what their capabilities will be as far as like live streaming. I had some like really scary, terrible experiences in the past where I was like, oh, this is really terrible, and so it's like I need to talk myself over that and then
Yes.
try
Yes.
again.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna keep trying.
Exactly. And the technology and accessibility questions
Yeah.
are changing all the time, right? So if you try to do a live show or live stream in the past, the technology might have been more challenging, or the support might
Mhm.
not be there, or the advice or whatever. But now it's so much more prominent. People are doing this so much more that my hope is that you'll be able to get it. You'll be able to. My hope is that you'll be able to get it in such a way that everyone can see it, and I'm saying that just for purely selfish reasons so that I can see it. I don't care really if everybody else sees it. I just want to make sure that I can see it, and I'm just pretending like I really care about other people and their ability to see it. So
I'm just gonna pretend. We just
I'm just going to pretend like I'm a good person. It's like, oh, you should do it for the benefit of humanity and myself. Um, but no, and the idea of watching your students grow into independent artists, how does that feel?
Oh, I just brag. I don't even hold back. Look, you don't even have to ask me. I just be like, oh, let me tell you. I will walk you into like, oh, look what they made. Like, I'm a student. So I'm out to eat at like this local sushi place, and I see a lady wearing a design that I know my student made. Like, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my god. I like sneak and take a picture of the lady, like crop her face out. I text it to my student, like, look what I saw. She was wearing your design. Like, you're famous. Like, like
Oh my
I'm just
gosh.
like, oh my god, I can't. I'm constantly overwhelmed with joy. I think, like I said, my goal is to teach you how to make decisions, to teach you how to make your visions come to life. And so seeing that, I'm over the moon. I can't stop talking about like I know people tired of me, but it's okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Because we need you. We need you to do what you are doing so you can help sustain the radical and gorgeous and just beautifully empowering designs that you make. So you have to be the one talking about it, because who else is talking about it? And I am just so inspired by the way that you have built what you needed, and how you went out on a limb and you did this. You took this risk, and it's paying off in multiple ways. Like, it's really like it's giving you something. It's showing your child what it means to pursue a dream. It's showing the students that you have to come through that you can be yourself in any way and in any space and in any direction that you want. It's just all around a really wonderful project, LaTerry. Seriously, it's
Thank
just
you so
amazing.
much. Like
Really,
that really means a
congratulations.
lot. I mean, that really does.
All right, so we're going to wrap up, y'all. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that, LaTerry, tell us where we can find you on the socials. I know you have a YouTube channel. Tell us where we can find you.
Okay. So my YouTube is So Modest. My Instagram is so.modest, and it's sew.modest. And you can also find me on Facebook. It's So Modest Studio on Facebook. And that's all of my accounts. Oh, I'm also on Clubhouse, but I don't really know how to use it yet. So
We will have to get you set up there with, 'cause, Black Women Stitch has a club on Clubhouse, and
oh,
yeah, so we should definitely extend the conversation there too. I would love that. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. This was so generous. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the invitation. Like, like I said, just you personally, as I've been following you and following your story and the way that you share and empower and really bring your full self to the craft, I was just like, this is exactly the space I want to be in.
Thank you, and same. I am a mirror. I'm reflecting this. This is what I see in you. So I thank you.
You've been listening to the Stitch Please podcast, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. We appreciate you supporting us by listening to the podcast. If you'd like to reach out to us with questions, you can contact us at blackwomenstitch@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us financially, you can do that by supporting us on Patreon, Patreon, and you can find Black Women Stitch there in the Patreon directory. And for as little as $2 a month, you can help support the project with things like editing, transcripts, and other things to strengthen the podcast. And finally, if financial support is not something you can do right now, you can really, really help the podcast by rating it and reviewing it anywhere you listen to podcasts that allows you to review them. So I know that not all podcast directories or services allow for reviews, but for those who do, for those that have like a star rating or just ask for a few comments, if you could share those comments and say nice things about us at the Stitch Please podcast, that is incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. Come back next week and we'll help you get your stitch together.